But first, this is the very first campaign confidential of the official campaign, which, of course, finally kicked off Friday. But, you know, if you've been here for a few weeks, you know it feels like it has been going on for so very much longer than that, maybe since even the beginning of the year. So let's get straight into it and look at the state of the race. And I think it is fair to say that this election is still, at this point, despite those polls, anyone's game, which is really, if you think about it, quite remarkable, given that Australians almost never turf first-term governments. Yet, as remarkable a job as Peter Dutton has done making the coalition competitive, there are warnings that he may have more work to do. The latest news poll reveals a 51-49 two-party preferred vote. That's a 2-point swing back to Labour, and this follows just hours after earlier today when polling dropped out of YouGov, which has its own proprietary model to predict how seats will fall. And their verdict was, well, 10 seats where Labour was behind 6 weeks ago have now, according to YouGov, gone back to being firmly in the red column. They also have Labour at a 50.2%, very precise there, advantage in the all-important two-party preferred stakes. Now, I think they're a bit optimistic about those seats, but so their so-called central estimate still has Labour being able to form minority government, according to this poll, with the help of only one crossbencher. But you know what? I think that's optimistic, and I think we need to put some caveats on these numbers. I mean, YouGov was in the market for several weeks with their poll, meaning the effects of Peter Dutton's budget and reply speech may not have shown up in those numbers. And number two, and I think this is even more important, it's still a long campaign. We've got 5 weeks to go, and there is still absolutely time for another reversal of fortune, or maybe even 2 or 3. So in this news, you know, to that end, we'll be talking about the links of Chinese foreign influence campaigns to Labour. Well, that news is proof enough that anything can happen. Which finally brings me to the third point about the YouGov poll. It was conducted in a very strange period before people tuned into the campaign, but that when there was very much a phony pre-campaign campaign going on. So ultimately, in that sense, I think it actually bodes poorly for Albanese and Labour, who, despite clawing back numbers in the polls, are leading an increasingly angry and disgruntled electorate that feels like they want to get out there and vote already. They're tired of it. Yet, they're not going to be able to vote until May 3rd, 5 weeks from now. And indeed, that's why for some time now, this campaign has already felt to me like it is in that feverish endgame moment. Recall the other day when Monique Ryan's husband got into a stoush over a Liberal campaign corps flute. I mean, this recalled to me nothing more than the pre-election night assault with a deadly corkscrew of a Liberal volunteer in Warringah on the eve of the election in 2019. But tempers are running hot elsewhere too. Peter Dutton, for example, has been the subject of at least 2 climate-type protesters gate-crashing his events, a campaign tactic known as bird-dogging. Have a look.
Mr Dutton, why are you lying to the Australian people about the cost of nuclear and gas? No more gas, Mr Dutton, it's a lie! You're pushing.
Just come on, walk with me.
It's a lie!
Just walk with me, please. Walk with me.
Mr Dutton! Only gas will drive anything closer!
The man was just trying to enjoy a succulent Chinese meal. And then there was this Saturday when a young man posed a question of Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, who was out spruiking his Medicare plans.
Albanese, don't you think 1.8 million immigrants in 5 years is going to increase demand on the medical system? What about the fact that people my age can't get any housing, we can't get rentals anymore, we have no future in this country anymore? Don't you think that's kind of ridiculous? No? You can't touch me, mate. You know.
Well, the Prime Minister and the Treasurer were thrilled to be asked that question, and I note that while a lot of the media were quick to tar the fellow who asked it as being some far-right fringe dweller, his question is a fair one, and frankly, it's a bit of a shame that none of the other journos there reposed it. So while no one wants there to be an opportunity for ne'er-do-wells to harm our politicians, I mean, after all, that is as direct an attack as you can get on democracy, I also think that in the wake of all of these incidents, we have to be careful that we don't seal off our politicians in a bubble. Meanwhile, perhaps to distract from all of this, both parties are out trying to buy, sorry, did I say buy? No. I meant win votes. Putting promises on the national credit card like they were a young couple bidding for a house, only instead of being backed by the bank of mum and dad, they're backed by all the mums and dads across Australia and everybody else who pays tax in this country. On Saturday alone, I added it up. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese promised $16 million to upgrade the aquatic centre in Bega, New South Wales.
It's really important that young people engage in sport, and for this facility here, it will, of course, provide amenity for young, not so young, and not so very young. And it will make an enormous difference here. $16 million will ensure that this pool can get the upgrade that it deserves.
$16 million, cha-ching, and Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles was in the Northern Territory that same day promising $10 million for a new community hub at Zicoli.
It's great to be here with Luke, with Malandiri, with Athena, to make what is a really fantastic announcement for Darwin, for the city of Palmerston, for the community of Zicoli. And that is to announce a $10 million commitment in an re-elected Albanese Labor government to the establishment of the Zicoli Community Hub.
So that gets up to $26 billion. Meanwhile, the same day, the always charming Industries Minister Ed Husic announced a new $20 million campaign to encourage Australians to buy Australian, and in doing so, he cited research that said Australians want to buy Australian, which, of course, begs the question, if Australians want to buy Australian, why do... never mind. Anyway, add it all up, and that's $46 million in spending commitments on the first full day of the campaign. Now, if Labor keeps up that rate, well, by the end of the campaign, that'll be another $1.5 billion worth of gear between now and Election Day, which, again, I guess isn't that much when you're already staring down the barrel of a $1 trillion debt. Meanwhile, Peter Dutton, while not in office yet, said that he would stump up $225,000 of government money if he won for a Chinese cultural centre in Brisbane. And I noticed this little bit from a news report on the intended gift. It said, quote, Peter Lowe, a leader of Brisbane's Chinese-Australian community who attended lunch with the opposition leader, said originally a lot were against Dutton because of his stance on China. But Lowe said Dutton's noticeably softer rhetoric and the departure of Scott Morrison had lifted the Liberal Party's standing with Chinese Australians. Well, the Chinese Australian community certainly is important, and they make a valued contribution to our society. But you do start to wonder sometimes where all of this ethnic politicking ends. I mean, it's already seen Labor leave Israel, hang out to dry at the UN. Both sides do this, I'm afraid, and it leads to both cynicism and, I worry, the undermining of Team Australia.